Hello, this is Amanda Ray, spiritual advisor from theamandaray.com, and I'm just here to share a story with you about kind of my spiritual journey or how signs are showing up for me. And I feel like sharing stories about what I've experienced will help people apply that into their own lives. So just before Christmas, me and my mom were going to do a little bit of Christmas shopping, and I had to call the government to ask some questions about passports. We're applying for the kids, but because COVID, we can't just like walk into an office, and it was like just a whole thing. Anyway, so I call them and they're like, hey, we're talking about, you don't have to take the kids into the office and, you just mail it in and whatever. So I got my answers, fine and dandy. And in the conversation, the lady's name was Julie. And during this conversation, it came up that I have 4 kids and kind of what our travel plans were. And for the future, not today because we need passports. But so she was like, she kind of stuttered while saying this, but then she's like, you're a goddess. And I'm like, did the government of Canada seriously just call me a goddess? So like I was here for it. I was like, okay, I felt awkward because I don't like to speak about myself that way. It just feels awkward for me. But it's been happening a lot where people are addressing me as like queen or goddess and stuff. And although it makes me comfortable, I'm here for it. It's like, okay, I will accept this. Thank you very much. So anyway, after the call, I couldn't get over it. I just was laughing to myself. I'm like, really, it's like 9 a.m. and I'm a goddess. So I'm like, I don't know what today has in store for me, but like, hey, here we are. So, I had a good day, running errands, picking up kid supplies and Christmas presents and whatever. And day overall was pretty normal. By the end of it, I was super exhausted. I was like, I'm tired of the people. I'm tired of the shopping. I'm ready to go home. And I was like, oh man, I forgot to pick up one thing from a store. So I'm like, I'll just go back. We're right here. We live on a farm far away from here. So like, I'll just go back. And as I'm getting out of my van to head into the store, I'm actually going to Winners and just to pick up some face masks for my son, because I find it's super easy to find girl face masks like for school and stuff. But boy patterns, it's very seasonal, like Christmas all over it or something, or there's like nothing. And I'm like, well, he probably doesn't want to wear unicorns and mermaids at school, so where's the sharks? And so I go in, it's like super quick trip. We're going into the store. I grab the masks, I know where they are because I was already there, but I forgot to grab them. And I'm waiting in line, and at Winners, it's like they have a little aisle that kind of snakes back and forth. And in this aisle to wait to check out, they have like a whole bunch of stuff for you to look at. And this is where they get me every time, because like there's the coffee cups, literally this cup I picked up there too. They have the candles, and they also so randomly had a tarot card deck in the stationery. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here for a $10 tarot deck. So I grab it and I'm at the check. Oh, sorry. Back it up. As I was leaving my van, my guides were like, take your business cards. I'm like, why the fuck do I need to take business cards into Winners when I'm just going to pick up masks and leaving? And I'm like, whatever, I'll just shove them in my pocket and go. I'll just put them back when I get back. No biggie. Because it's not like there's like a bulletin board I can stick one up at, or, like it didn't make sense to me. But I listened. So I find these tarot cards in the little checkout line, and I'm a fancy new cup. It's a very big cup. I like this cup. And I go to the checkout person, the cashier, and I don't think I asked what her name is. Sorry. But we got chatting, and she's like, we have tarot cards here. So I'm pointing, I'm like, yeah, they're right there. And I was explaining where they were. I was like, I couldn't believe it either. I'm like, for $10, I'm going to pick up a deck of tarot cards. And they're really awkward. Like I can't shuffle these. Like they're huge cards, right? And she's like, do you do this? And I'm like, well, actually, yeah. Like I have a whole YouTube channel. You can watch pick a cards, and here's my business card. No word of a lie. So I'm like, okay, guys, I hear you. You knew what was up. So those little weird things that they're going to tell you to do is for a reason. And I'm sure you've had instances like this where you're like, man, if I would have just listened to that weird little thing, it just would have been bang on. Right? So we got chatting, and anyway, carried on. I get home and I'm opening up my deck, and when I get a new deck, I like to just flip through all of the cards and just take a peek. And like, I'm very familiar with what these cards look like. It's a classic Rider-Waite style deck, right? So 3 Cups Celebration is just in navy and gold. You know, that's the only difference. And they're really awkward to shuffle because my hand barely fits on them. But nonetheless. So as I'm flipping through, we come across the Hanged Man and Death. And we carry on where we're getting to the Sun and the Moon card. And lo and behold, we have another Hanged Man. And another Death card. And no Sun and no Moon. And through another story that I'll tell another time, the Moon card is a really big signifier for me right now. And I guess you can't see it on the door here. I'll just move the camera. There's that little sticker on my door there is actually the Moon tarot card. So it's a big personal significance for me. Although I stuck that sticker on there because I got it by random chance before the whole story about it came about, but I will do another video sometime about that story. So I was like, a piece of me is missing from this deck. Like, that's how I felt. So I was talking with one of my girlfriends, Tara, that's very good with tarot specifically. I lean more towards Oracle because I just naturally channel things from out of nowhere, whereas tarot has more specific meanings a lot of the time. Although you can channel with them too. And so we had a whole conversation about that, but it was just really interesting that that part was removed. It's like part of your struggles are removed and not repeated, right? Because the whole major arcana journey is like the Fool's journey. You know, each step signifies some kind of learning curve. So it's not that you're missing a piece. It's that either you've done the healing work or something like that, and you've worked through some stuff and you have less bumps on the road kind of thing is the energy that was coming out. And like with zodiac signs, the Hanged Man is Pisces, Death is like Scorpio. So, and both of those signs have been significant over the last few weeks, maybe month. Maybe it's been closer to a month now by the time this video is posted. Have been really significant in a variety of different ways in the healing journey and being able to skip some of these steps, you know. Scorpio more for the time frame of it. So it's just been super interesting how your guides will just show up for you in the most random ways. So those little whispers that you get, take your business cards into the store, or, you know, turn left, not right, drive a different way to work, don't stop and get your coffee. They all mean something in the grand scheme of things, and they are trying to help you see what they see. It just isn't as direct as how we would explain it. I find that us in our human experience need to constantly over-validate our ideas and opinions. So like, if I was going to tell someone, if someone else was me getting out of the van needing to take business cards and I was sitting in the passenger seat, I would be like, take your business cards. And then an explanation would have to happen, some kind of reason to justify that message that I'm sending. You know, take your business cards because you're going to meet someone that just, it's going to come up in conversation that it's going to work out that you need some business cards on hand. And I'm like, but that's why I have them in my van, right? I have a whole box in my van for those purposes, right? And Spirit doesn't need to justify their messages in the same way us humans tend to think we need to. So when you hear, take your business cards, that explanation is going to come to you through your experience. You have to live it to be like, oh, that's why. When they say do this, act on it. Your heart and soul is calling to your guides to get those messages, whatever it is, whether it's you watching a pick a card reading and I'm channeling messages on behalf of your guides so that it's more of an explanation for you, or you're hearing it, feeling it, however that shows up for you, depending on your type of, intuition, follow it. Because it's beautiful. On the other side of that, having taken my business cards, had the experience to explain why they said that, it feels beautiful to have trusted that message. It was such a simple, made no sense message, but there's a whole story to it. My goddess day was listening, surrendering, allowing myself to receive and be seen, right? And that's really what a goddess feels like to me as well. So I urge you to listen to those small messages, even when they don't make sense yet, because every single experience makes sense eventually. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes 5 years. But sometimes it takes 5 decades for that message to make sense or that experience to make sense. But trust me, I will do another story about how experiences turn into something, like bad experience turn into something beautiful in another video. But every single time, that's how Spirit has showed up in my life. So if you're on the spiritual journey and if you're sitting here still watching this video, I know you are, even if you want to deny it, allow Spirit to speak to you in the small whispers. They aren't going to be booming. They're going to be super subtle little messages, but it's all going to make sense in time. Every little message. So thank you so much for joining me and listening to my story. I hope to be posting more of these stories soon, because I feel like sharing stories is a really great way to help people feel like they're going through the same things or the same messages, more so than just pulling the cards and channeling messages, because sometimes the cards can be pretty heavy and pretty all up in there. So stories seem to be a little bit more subtle ways of communicating some of those messages. So thank you so much. I hope to see you again soon. If you haven't watched one of my pick a card videos, there's lots on my channel. If you have, thank you so much. And I hope to see you again.